Welcome, traveler, to Abyss of Horror. Tonight the shadows cling a little tighter. The air tastes of old blood, and the fire seems to flicker with a mind of its own. Before we begin, let me ask you, do you know where the vampire was truly born? Not in the velvet-draped castles of fiction, not in the pale kiss of some brooding immortal. No, the truth is older, blacker, and steeped in rot. The vampire legend is not a tale. It is a wound, stitched through history with whispers, fear, and bone. Join me now. Lock your doors, draw your curtains, and do not look too long into the darkness, because something might look back. This is the true origin of the vampire. It begins before language, before scripture, before candlelight, when humanity's only defense against the night was the fire they huddled around and the stories they told to keep the shadows at bay. And in those stories, something always came crawling out of the dark, something with eyes like coals and hunger that no flame could burn away. In the cradle of civilization, Mesopotamia, there were tales of Lilu, a malevolent spirit, and Lamashtu, a demon who drank the blood of infants and stalked pregnant women. These creatures weren't called vampires, but they were the shape of things to come. They were early warnings, primitive echoes of something we could not understand, only fear. In Greece, there was Empusa, a demonic woman with bronze feet, who fed on the blood of the sleeping. And Lamia, once a queen, cursed to devour children. These were not cautionary figures. They were monsters who came when the gods weren't looking, who slithered through cracked windows and left cradles cold. In India, the Vatala haunted cemeteries. A spirit that possessed corpses, animated them, and used the flesh like a puppet. They were clever, malicious, feeding not just on blood but on sanity. Even the Chinese spoke of the Jiangshi, the hopping corpse that drained the living of life force. And then there were the Slavs. The Slavic vampire was not romantic. It was not beautiful. It was bloated, its skin tinged purple or red from feeding. It crawled from shallow graves with nails grown long and sharp, its mouth smeared in blood. This creature, the vampire, was the true seed of what the world would come to know. These creatures were born not from bites, but from suspicion, grief, and disease. They came when plague ravaged a village, when cattle died suddenly, when crops withered overnight. People looked to the grave and they saw it wasn't enough to bury the dead. Sometimes the dead got up again. In these villages, when misfortune fell upon the living, suspicion turned to the freshly buried. If a corpse was not decomposing quickly, if its lips looked too red, if its body was too full, they would dig it up, drive a stake through the chest, cut off the head, or burn the heart. And these weren't fringe rituals. This was communal survival. Entire towns would gather for the rite to watch the vampire's destruction, and to hope it would be enough. And it wasn't always. Let me take you to 1726 in the village of Medwenja, Serbia. There lived a soldier named Arnold Paule, who claimed to have been attacked by a vampire while serving in the Ottoman Wars. He tried to protect himself by smearing himself with the vampire's blood, a ritual of immunization. But after returning home, he fell from a hay wagon and died. Weeks later, people began dying, fast and strangely. And they said Arnold Powell had been seen walking through the village at night. The bodies were dug up. Arnold's corpse was found in a fresh state. Blood trickled from his lips. They drove a stake through his heart and claimed he groaned in pain. They burned his body. Yet the deaths continued. And so began the vampire hysteria that swept across Eastern Europe, Hungary, Bulgaria, Serbia, and beyond. Governments sent military surgeons to investigate. Reports were written. Corpses were studied. Vampires had entered the official record. And then, in 1892, in Exeter, Rhode Island, the New World had its turn. Mercy Brown, a young woman, died of tuberculosis. Her mother and sister had already passed. Her brother Edwin fell ill next, and the villagers, steeped in old world superstition, feared that Mercy was not truly dead. They dug up her grave, and they found her body was oddly preserved. Her heart, when removed, was full of blood. They burned it, mixed the ashes into water, and made her brother drink it in a last, desperate attempt to free him from her grip. He died anyway. These are not tales. These are documented events found in dusty reports, newspapers, and state archives. By the time literature got its fangs into the legend, the vampire was already well fed. In 1819, John Polidori gave us The Vampire, a pale aristocrat with a taste for society and blood. This was no corpse from a peasant's grave. It was a creature of wit, power, and seduction. And then, in 1897, the vampire transcended. Bram Stoker's Dracula carved the legend in marble. Dracula was monstrous, yes, but intelligent, noble. His castle was Gothic, his words smooth, his hunger eternal. But beneath the velvet and lace, the corpse still stank. Stoker's vampire was foreign, and in this, he represented more than just fear of the undead. He was the embodiment of xenophobia, sexual repression, disease, and decay of empire. The vampire became a metaphor, a mirror reflecting society's greatest unspoken horrors. Blood became not just life, but lust, addiction, contagion. The vampire could be queer, female, outsider, the other, punished and glamorized. And as the years dragged the legend forward, it twisted with each age. Nosferatu, in 1922, gave us the feral beast. Long claws, rodent-like features, shadow given form. Lugosi's Dracula in 1931 draped the monster in charm. Then came Anne Rice, and the vampire became tragic. Buffy, Twilight, True Blood. Let the right one in. The vampire adapted. It seduced. It suffered. It shined. But the old roots remained, buried under velvet, still twitching. The vampire is not dead. It is undying. Even now, some claim to be real vampires. Sanguinarians, who drink small amounts of blood from willing donors. Others call themselves psychic vampires, feeding on emotional energy. There are vampire courts in New Orleans, Atlanta, Paris. They gather, dressed in black, cloaked in ritual, echoing the very things we once feared, and maybe still do. Because somewhere out there, perhaps in a small town with quiet graves and missing livestock, or deep in a crumbling eastern village where garlic still hangs above doors, there are stories whispered by old voices, stories of bodies that didn't rot, of nails that kept growing, of eyes that stayed open long after death. And all it takes to awaken those old bones is a little belief. You see, the vampire is not just a monster. It is a vessel. It wears our shame, our terror, our taboos. It has become a lover, a villain, a victim, and always, always a mirror. So the next time you pass a closed coffin, the next time your reflection lingers too long in the mirror, the next time you dream of someone standing at the foot of your bed, lips parting over teeth too sharp, ask yourself, what if the legends were never legends? What if the vampire never left? What if it never died? If you made it this far into the shadows, you are stronger, or more cursed than most. Like this video if you felt the chill in your spine. Subscribe to the abyss of horror for more true nightmares whispered from the dark. And in the comments, write the word undying. If you believe some doors should remain closed, even after death. Abyss of horror, a vampire, origins, dark history, undying, real vampires, folklore, horror, true horror, blood legends, paranormal truths, horror narration. Until next time, don't look too long into the dark. It remembers.